driver, and I'm a flyer. I waited a long time for a shot like this.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
We always strive with Star Wars to try and do things for real wherever possible. I mean, you know, there's certain things that you just can't do. We can't build flying X-Wings, we can't build flying TIE fighters. And the same as you can't make real droids, you could make droid costumes for people, you know. So in the case of, say, in Solo, L3, she is a practical costume that was worn by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but part of that was Phoebe wearing a green body stocking inside, and then the inside, you know, the working parts of L3 were replaced with CG. And I think that's the sort of the ultimate goal, is to try and always retain an element of reality, do something practically, but then use CG to fill in the bits that you can't do for real. Even before the principal photography had started, we were already doing previs for the train sequence, which is where you can sort of mock the animation up in the computer and work out what all the shots are going to be. That then informed a helicopter and ground-based shoot out in the Dolomites in Italy, and we shot something like 80,000 images. All those images were effectively thrown into a piece of software. The software works out the positions of all those images, where the cameras were, and then builds what's called a point cloud from those images, which gave us effectively a 3D representation of the entire mountain range. From that, we sort of processed that into renderable geometry and mesh, and then projected all of the images back onto that, and that allowed us to recreate this mountain range in 3D. What we wanted to be able to do was take shots that we shot using the helicopter and cameras, but then effectively move the camera much closer to the mountain face, and that's where the 3D mountain range really came into play. But also it gave us the ability to just cook up shots from scratch in post-production, change the cameras, change the design of the shots, giving us the freedom to do whatever we wanted to do in post-production and react to notes and comments from the director. Rather than just putting the actors on top of the CG and calling it a day, use lots of things like atmosphere in the air, clouds of vapour, airborne snow particles. All those things are not only there to help tell the story, but they're also there to help sell the realism of the image and make everything fit together as one. Part of the problem with explosions and things like that is that if you shoot a miniature explosion, the scale of the gravity gives itself away. And we're trying to do an explosion that's the size of a mountain. And Rob had the idea, well, if we can't go big, how about we go absolutely tiny? And he was a big fan of the slow-mo guys on YouTube. You've seen these guys that like smashing things up and shooting it with, you know, ultra slow motion cameras. And they did a thing where they were doing underwater explosions, like firing off tiny little firecrackers in fish tanks, and shooting that at something like 120,000 frames a second. So we decided to have a go at doing something like that, and ultimately that's what we did. So at Pinewood we set up a large fish tank, and we took a 3D print of the mountain that we were going to blow up. We shot it at 120,000 frames a second, and we filmed multiple versions of setting off firecracker charges, various different colours of firecrackers, various different densities, and shot about, I think, 64 different versions of this explosion. Using the 3D print of the mountain, the explosion, the bubble wrapped itself around the contours of the mountain perfectly. It's quite funny, really, because when you look at the shot, most people would think that the mountain range is real and the explosion is CG, but it's actually completely the other way around, that the explosion elements are absolutely real and the mountains are all CG. You know, it's no secret there was a change in directors halfway through the shoot of the movie, and Ron Howard came on board, who's a fabulous director, and he tried to have as little an impact on the production as possible. He just wanted to kind of pick up the reins and run with it, and he did a great job with that. But inevitably there were certain amounts of the movie that he wanted to re-sculpt in his own vision. So that meant that the shoot extended. And the shoot extended by about 2 months, but the release date didn't change. So that meant that our post-production schedule was somewhat compressed, and it made things, you know, a little bit of a scramble in the final stages. But having said that, it was and it's a testimony to all the team at ILM and production and the way that they organised the schedule, that we still managed it. And here in London, actually, I think we delivered a couple of days early.
I got a really good feeling about this. When do you know how to fly? 190 years old? You look great.